All right, it is 1 o'clock and we are going to get started. Good afternoon. My name is Alisha Adams and I am with Atlantic City Electric or Pepco Holdings. I'm the manager of regulatory affairs, but today you are going to be your moderator throughout today's career panel. So just a little overview, Atlantic City Electric is a company that is a happy and fantastic sponsor of the New Jersey Student Climate Summit and the Climate Challenge. So throughout this past month, hopefully you've had a great time learning about all the different pieces to really make a sustainable future during this climate crisis. But today we want to kind of take a step back, and as you are all learning about different solutions around the climate crisis, we wanted to introduce you to some positions and some wonderful folks that I work with. If you're interested in pursuing a career within energy or within Atlantic City Electric or many of our sister utilities. So speaking of utilities, I'm sure all of you have heard Atlantic City Electric. We are the utility of the South Jersey area. So some of us might provide the electricity to your house, or some of you, sorry. And you might use other sources, but for the most part, we're the electric company in your area. So if you see folks out there on the lines and fixing the power lines, that's us. So today we are going to talk about different careers, as I mentioned, and a little bit of overview of how today will go. So we'll start off with a fantastic panel with Wang, Shrina, Reavey, and Ranjit Sackey to talk about their jobs, how they got into energy, and what they're doing in their current roles to support the climate crisis. And then the second half, we'll do a wonderful conversation with Thomasina Ware and TJ Thornton, who are with our talent acquisition team. They're going to talk about the ins and outs of how do you get a job? How do you prepare your resume? How do you want to get into the workforce with us or even within the industry for energy? So without further ado, I do want to start our meeting today with a safety message. So part of being a utility, safety is our #1 priority. And safety is really important. You know, there's a lot of areas and times where we can get ourselves injured or hurt. So one of the things that, seeing from a wide scope of things, but today we're going to focus on computer safety. So I know all of us during this pandemic have been using the computer a whole lot. And that computer screen time actually puts a lot of strain on your eyes. So it's actually recommended that every hour you take a break. You take maybe a minute or so, get up and walk around. Or if you're so stuck at the computer, look away, count to 20, and that relaxes your eyes and your eye muscles too from the strain of the blue light getting into it. That'll help you in the long run from having any other eye injuries or other health issues that are really important to keep your eyes healthy. So that's our safety message. All right, now getting into the good stuff. We have a fantastic panel with you today, but I'll start. Again, my name is Alisha Adams. I am actually the manager of regulatory affairs for Pepco Holdings, which actually works with Atlantic City Electric, Delmarva Power, and Pepco down here in DC. And I kind of just do regulatory stuff. I work with the commission to make sure we meet our compliance pieces. But before this, I was a corporate citizenship specialist. So that's kind of how I got roped into this job. But I also love talking to my colleagues and learning more about what they do. Today we have Wang, who's an energy engineer, and he works on our energy efficiency team, working to see how we can best produce energy efficiency usage and work with our customers that way. Ranjit Sackey is our manager of capacity planning. So you've probably heard a lot about the grid and how the electric grid can support and get electricity to us. You probably heard a lot about what happened in Texas too. We actually manages a whole team that kind of looks into how best can our grid that we already have in place meet that capacity, but also innovative things like how do we plug in our solar panels and solar residential solar pieces or innovation around that. And then Shrina Reavey, who's our senior engineer for environmental management department, actually works to make sure that we as a company are being environmentally sound and doing the right things to protect the environment and meet different compliance. But you're going to hear a lot more from them. So I'm going to start with having them introduce themselves a little bit more to you. So Aaron, we're going to start with you. Could you please introduce yourself?
Alrighty. Hello all. My name is Aaron, and I'm an energy engineer working at Atlantic City Electric. So I graduated from the University of Delaware with a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering back in 2012. And I've been with the company for a little over 6 years now. And I guess my primary responsibility for my work is to work with customers on their high energy consumption concerns. Whether it's due to a malfunction in the equipment or inefficiency of equipment, I work with customers to locate and hopefully reduce their overall energy consumption in their home. So sort of a quick overview of how we receive these customer, we call cases. Customer will call in to the call center and they will talk to a customer service rep. And then customer service rep will kind of go through the bills and sort of answer any questions or concerns that they have in regards to the bills. But if the customer have a large amount of concerns in regarding to the energy consumption, then they will get transferred over to what we call the energy advisors. And the energy advisors are customer service representatives that have a bit more technical knowledge, technical background that can step through with the customers about the potential causes in the increase in consumption. But if the energy advisors still have a hard time determining where the usage might be coming from, then it kind of get forward to our department, which is the energy engineers. What we do is we would pull up their energy consumption history and do do energy analysis of the usage history to kind of determine, based on the analysis, what the cause might be. And then afterwards, we'll give the customer a call, go over our findings through our analysis, and then just get some more information in regarding to the home. And then pre-COVID, we would schedule appointments with customers and go to their home and troubleshoot and locate the high consumption. But because of COVID, right now, all of this is done virtually. It's not as good as in person, but sort of this is the best that we have right now. And with us, we perform ASHRAE Level 1 energy audits. ASHRAE stands for American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers. And ASHRAE Level 1 energy audit is sort of the most basic audit. It's an energy walkthrough. What we do is we walk through the home and look for glaring areas of energy inefficiencies, and then gather all that data, kind of give that information to the customer, and then see what the customer would like to do moving forward. There's also ASHRAE Level 2 and ASHRAE Level 3. We do a very high level ASHRAE Level 2 because we provide them with the data of where the consumption might be coming from. But ASHRAE Level 3 is sort of the bread and butter of energy audits, where they will depressurize the home, does a sort of look for air leakages. It's a lot more involved, which we don't have the equipment to do. But with me, we do a lot of ASHRAE Level 1 audits, and then I will also provide customer with energy saving tips. I'll also provide customer with programs, rebates that's available out there for them to take advantage of to improve the energy efficiency of their home. And that's sort of what I do for Atlantic City Electric.
Great, thanks, Aaron. Shrina?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Shrina Reavey, and I work as a senior environmental engineer in the Pepco Holdings Environmental Management Department, supporting all three of our utilities, including Atlantic City Electric, of course. So in my current role, I work across the entire company to make sure we remain in compliance with the many, many environmental laws and regulations that apply to our day-to-day operations and activities. This includes where we're siting our facilities and equipment to make sure we're protecting sensitive habitats and wetland areas. And we're also ensuring that we're taking measures to prevent our electrical system from injuring birds and wildlife in the area as well. So we work closely with our operating departments across the whole entire company to strategize and determine what more we can be doing also beyond compliance to really reduce our environmental impacts and minimize our carbon footprint. And this includes increasing our recycling efforts, reducing the amount of waste we're generating, both in our office buildings and also out in the field as well. We do a lot of construction work. And then also working towards climate change solutions, which I know you guys have been talking about over the last few weeks, which we know is it's a growing global and local concern. So we're very focused on that. So in both the construction and maintenance of our electrical system, the environmental personnel are, at the table, assisting the company in ensuring that we're building a stronger and more resilient electrical system that can withstand the stronger storms that are occurring as part of this whole sort of global warming process. And And we're also making sure that we're maintaining our facilities, our buildings, and our electrical equipment in a way that we're reducing greenhouse gas emissions from our primary sources. So we're tracking that very closely and making sure we're making those improvements so we can be working together and sort of the partnerships towards improving the environment. And then finally, we're also partnering with external environmental organizations to work towards common climate change and sustainability goals across the communities. And we do a lot of volunteer work around environmental education and awareness as well with the communities. And yeah, so that's what I have.
Great, thanks, Shrina. And our final panelist, Ranjit, please share.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. As Alisha said, my name is Ranjit Sackey. I'm a manager of capacity planning. And Alisha did give us a little bit of a description of what my team does. So I have a team of engineers, 8 engineers on my team at the moment. What my team focuses on is making sure that the grid is adequate for our customers. So, you have lots of folks that are, either buying new houses or building new shopping centers. These days you have folks that are installing generation like solar panels, even wind and battery systems at their locations. So my team is responsible for making sure that the grid is adequate to support all the needs of our customers in the future. So we do some engineering analysis and model all the equipment that you see out in the field, the poles and the wires. And we essentially determine when we need some new poles and wires or bigger poles and wires, new substations, and that sort of thing, just to make sure that we can maintain an adequate grid, to meet everyone's needs.
Excellent. And we're actually stay on you, Ranjit, for the next question. So my question is, what's one thing your team does that combats the climate crisis?
Great question. So, as climate change and change in temperatures in the world happen, the good thing about it is we're getting more and more education around it, and more folks, both within our company and in the public sector, are interested in helping. So lots of customers that want to do solar systems and other green sorts of generation on the grid. My team essentially is finding ways where the grid can help with that, can work. So as many customers as possible can connect and reduce the carbon footprint of maybe some less environmental friendly generation sources. At times we look and see, can we, instead of doing a traditional type of project of a new substation, can we defer that by doing, a battery system that will kind of levelize the customer's load, so our worst demand of the grid isn't as pronounced. It's more levelized, so the system doesn't really need that upgrade, maybe for some time. So those are a couple ways. And obviously we're looking for new ways. The good thing about planning is we're forward looking, so we're always educating ourselves and try to find new ways to help the environment, help our grid, and help our company to contribute to a more sustainable future.
Thanks so much. I'm actually going to pivot to Aaron too. Aaron, you talked a lot about the home energy checkup. We actually had a great session with your team on how to do a virtual home energy audit. And that could potentially be a project for some folks. But specifically, what's one thing that you're really proud of in your role that you do that combats the climate crisis?
Definitely with my role, I would say sort of reducing the customers' overall energy consumption in their home, and sort of also providing them tips on how to, just moving forward, how to increase efficiency and provide them with information on, programs and incentives and rebates that's available out there for them to take advantage of to decrease their overall energy consumption. So sort of with customers, we have been sort of getting more inquiries from customers about becoming more energy efficient and about green energy, particularly on about questions about solar. We will always give customer recommendations on solar is definitely one of the better on-site generations out there compared to different types that's available, and we also kind of give them information on credits that's available that they can take advantage of, and sort of the benefits that they would get if they install solar in their home. It's a win-win because they're going to reduce their overall carbon footprint by doing on-site generation, and they're also lowering their electric bill. So it's a win-win for both the customers and the environment. So sort of that's one thing that we're kind of heavily focusing on right now to reduce immediate consumption and future consumption of customers' homes.
That's great. Thanks, Aaron. And as we mentioned, we serve a huge number of customers too. So if you haven't tapped into this resource yet or these programs, definitely check with your parents or at home to see how you can get involved in reducing your footprint at home. And Shrina, of course, we can't forget about the environment. So what's going on in the environment department?
Yeah, so, we want to be walking the walk with everybody. Again, we have a lot of folks, focused on the customer side. The environmental department's really also looking on the inside. We have our own carbon footprint. We have our own greenhouse gas emissions. I'm not sure if everyone knows, Atlantic City Electric does not generate its own power. So really like our bigger greenhouse gas emission sources are from we have a very large vehicle fleet. I'm sure you guys see the Atlantic City trucks rolling through your neighborhood. I think you've heard about how we're electrifying our fleet. So we're not only providing tools and opportunities, resources for customers to really get into the EV vehicle world, we're doing that with our own fleet. So again, we're trying to take on these initiatives ourselves, and even with our buildings, like we're offering a lot of the things that Aaron mentioned in terms of energy efficiency. We're doing that in our own buildings. Like we're looking at it, we're auditing our buildings, we're replacing our lighting with LED lighting so we could be more energy efficient. So we're walking the walk. We have other equipment that has that have greenhouse gases that we're monitoring very closely. So again, we can reduce our operational driven emissions also. So not only providing tools for the customers, but also looking at ourselves and seeing what we can be doing better.
No, that's great. And I absolutely know that we're walking the walk and doing the talk. And some of our employees are even at our workplaces. We have charging stations. And I got an electric vehicle myself. So those of you who are getting your driver's license or looking for getting your permit, definitely look into an EV as they may be the vehicle of the future, or they are, depending on who you talk to. So actually, I'm going to go back to Shrina. We're going to pivot now and talk about a little bit about your career journey. So how did you get into your career?
Yeah, so I've been working in the environmental field for probably over 20 years now, even though, right, I look like I'm right out of high school. So I've had a lot of just, both field jobs, office jobs, worked from home the last, year or so, like a lot of the rest of us. So, I just always had a real passion for environmental stewardship and protection. When I was in high school, I recruited my friends and a few members. We formed our high school's first green team. I was promoting recycling back then, which I now know. I mean, my 2-year-old kids were doing it right off the bat, but back then, you really had to encourage people. It was a sort of a new thing, sadly enough. So, and I've just been always that self-proclaimed STEMinist. I'm a woman who loves the sciences. I love math. So I had a hard time trying to figure out what I wanted to study in college, what I wanted to really choose as my ultimate career path. So that's really what, the passion for the environmental protection, and then really just the fact that, I chose to study environmental science and engineering because it allowed me to use chemistry, biology, physics, geology. It was just a combination of all the sciences that I loved. And you can really use it all to come up with these innovative solutions towards improving the environment for future generations. It's just, the environment's just sort of this mixed bag of, all those different sciences working together. I joined Pepco Holdings as an environmental engineer 14 years ago, and it truly has been my one of my favorite jobs. So many of us have mentioned already, there's so many different ways you can make a difference and tackle really tough challenges, like climate change, while working in the energy sector. So I think we're really well positioned to make big differences, and I think that's really inspiring. So I just feel like for me it was just following passions of mine and what I like to do, and that's really just what I feel like has got me to where I am here now, and it's a good place to be. So that's what
Yeah, that's really great that you brought that up and that you can follow your passions and find, that you can work in the energy industry and still be very passionate about the environment and do work to improve it and make improvements for it. So thanks for sharing. I'm going to go to Ranjit. Same question.
Yep, sure, thanks. So kind of similar to Shrina, when I was in high school, I loved math and the sciences. Kind of came easily to me, the math part at least. Growing up, both my parents were in the medical field, so I kind of grew up, my whole childhood being asked if I was going to follow their footsteps. But to be frank, math was just easier for me. Studying biology and memorizing things just seemed more difficult. So I kind of just stuck with the math and physics kind of path when I was doing STEM. And when it was time to go to college, I had some family members. I had a couple uncles that were electrical engineers. So I decided to give it a try. I didn't really know if I wanted to do it for sure. I decided to give it a try. So I went to Morgan State University in Maryland and did a bachelor's in electrical engineering. Electrical engineering is pretty broad. You can get into electronics and signal processing and all sorts of interesting things with computers and all kinds of things. But luckily, when I was a junior in college, I was able to do an internship with a utility like ours. And I just loved it, just loved, going outside and seeing poles and wires and the impact of, the construction that we were doing and, providing service to people and just that practical, sense of what I was doing. When I walked outside, I could see a pole and see, how my work was kind of, showing up in the real world. So I just, just really enjoyed my summer and after my junior year, so my senior year, essentially, when I was looking for jobs, I was only really focused on the utility. And luckily, I was hired into Pepco Holdings. Actually, my first position was in Atlantic City Electric, doing planning, which my team does now. So I've been there with the company for almost 14 years as well. In a few different roles. I did a few different engineering roles through that time. Even kind of veered away from engineering for a couple of years into our construction group. So I was, working with folks that do the, building of the poles and the wires, kind of to round out my experience and kind of expose me to even more. And now I'm fortunate enough to lead a team of engineers that kind of look at the future and see how we can, prepare for it.
Yeah, Ranjit, really appreciate that you followed your passion because now we can rely on you to keep our power on, especially at home. So thank you. And Aaron, you're next. Same question.
Yes, so what got me interested in climate, sort of working with combating the climate crisis was my AP environmental class, my senior year of high school. I mean, before that class, I knew what, sort of climate change was, what the climate crisis was, but I didn't really have too much information until I signed up for this class. And the only reason I signed up for this class because the teacher that's teaching the class is my biology class that I had in my sophomore year. And I really enjoy his class. I was like, no, let's sign up for environmental science and see what it's about. And really that class opened up my eye to the severity of the climate crisis. I mean, the teacher would show statistics of the greenhouse gas emission, documentary that highlights the increase in greenhouse gas emission that's contributing to climate change. And it's due to this class that it got me really interested in working in the field that would help combat climate change. So going into college, I really didn't quite know what I wanted to major in. I knew it was going to be in the STEM field because sort of like Ranjit, math and science came really easily for me, not so much the history and the history and the literature side of things. So I knew that's where I want to get into STEM and maybe sort of focusing on solar, because after that class, after everything, I just felt like solar might be the future of energy. So going into college, I came in as undeclared, so I didn't know what I want to major in. So freshman year, I was just kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So I started speaking with my academic advisor and kind of going through it with her. what my goals are, what I wanted to focus on. And she was like, just based on the list that you provided, maybe you should go talk to the Dean of Engineering and maybe he can give you some ideas of where you might want to be. So I scheduled an appointment with the Dean of Engineering, kind of sort of going over the same list. He was like, well, if you want to focus, on solar, if sort of solar is your, what you want to get into, maybe you should look into getting into electrical engineering. So sort of that's how I ended up in electrical engineering, was due to, sort of kind of finding myself throughout my freshman year and then talking to several different people, and they just kind of guided me towards electrical engineering. Sort of, the rest was just in college, I was mostly focusing on, as I also mentioned earlier, electrical engineering is very broad. You can study signal, you can study, microcontrollers, circuits, power, sort of, with solar, it kind of also went sort of hand in hand with power distribution. So I was mostly focusing on solar and power engineering. The unfortunate part of that is for University of Delaware at that time, power engineering wasn't sort of wasn't a big focus for the College of Engineering. We had one professor. Interestingly enough, he was retired from Delmarva Power and became an adjunct professor for the University of Delaware. So he was teaching power classes, and I just really, and I grew, large interest due to that class in power and solar. So coming out of college, sort of applied around. Unfortunately, my very first job wasn't with the utility company. My very first job was with an aviation company. I was there for about a year and a half or so. And then I started applying to Pepco Holdings, PHI. And it just so happened that the job that I applied to had to do with energy efficiency. It was just sort of, it's not in the field of solar, but it's still energy efficiency, which also sort of achieved my goal of trying to combat the climate crisis. So sort of that's sort of how I ended up where I am right now. Even though, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not working with solar right now, but I am still working in energy efficiency, and I can also provide information about solar to the customer that I come in contact with.
Aaron, you bring up a really good point. I see Shrina and Ranjit shaking their head. So we all have engineers on our panel today, and one of the biggest things is, you followed your passion, but you also navigated through different roles and different backgrounds and different jobs, and that's okay. You all went to schools at different places. Aaron said he went to University of Delaware. Ranjit went to Morgan State and then did his master's at Drexel. And Shrina was at Johns Hopkins and Penn State University. So, there's a lot of education here, but, and you've built up a lot of experience on top of that education too. But looking back at your days in middle school and high school, young Shrina, young Ranjit, young Aaron, what advice would you give yourself to help you better prepare to be in your jobs today? And that will be our final question for the panel today. So we're going to actually start, let's go with Aaron again.
One thing that I really wish I had done to prepare my career while in high school, probably taking more advanced placement or AP classes that revolve around the STEM field through my high school. When I was in high school, I took 3 AP classes. It was AP Psychology, AP Calculus AB, and what was the third one? AP Environmental Science. My favorite class, probably throughout my high school career. I think with AP classes, it really help you get a head start in college. So I probably would have taken more had I knew sort of the value of AP classes. I know for my high school, AP Physics was offered, AP Chemistry was offered, AP Calculus BC was also offered. I part of taking advantage of those because those were all the courses that was required for my major of electrical engineering. So that's definitely one thing that I would highly recommend. If you know what you want to get into in college, look up the course curriculum and see what are the required classes, and then see if your high school offer advanced placement classes for those courses. So this way you can just you can take those classes in high school, because it's not, in college, it's like one semester is, I think, about 3 to 4 months. But in high school, you get the whole year to study that specific subject. So you get a lot more time to sort of get a better understanding of the subject. And then also by passing the AP exam, you will also receive college credits, which will also give you a bit of a head start on your college, your college life. Sort of one thing that I just want to mention, for my junior year, because I was just a little bit behind, because in the beginning, I was taking it a little bit easy. I was taking 21 credits for the fall semester of my junior year, and that was a lot of credits. Usually, I think people say you average about 17 credits per semester. 21 is another class and a half. So if I had taken advantage of, the AP Physics, the AP Calculus BC, AP Chemistry, and take an AP exam, if I passed it, get the college credit, then I wouldn't have such a tough junior year, kind of with my major. So that's one thing that I'll definitely recommend, looking into the AP classes offered for your high school.
Great. No, thank you for that. Ranjit?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron, for lots of good tips about class taking. So I have a couple things that I'll say, tips, if I can. The first one is something you guys are already doing. So you're here today. Do as many of these kinds of events as you can to kind of learn things that interest you, because otherwise you might miss out on something that you don't know you're interested in, or the passion that you might have that you don't really know until you're exposed to something. And with that, kind of thought process, try to get, as you go into college or even in high school, look out for internships or apprenticeships or different opportunities to spend time with folks in different fields, just to see, what really kind of tickles your fancy, if you can. And the second tip I'll give you is go out of your comfort zone as much as you can. So growing up, I was pretty timid, so public speaking was a thing for me. It was a challenge for me. So it's very unnatural for me to speak publicly, though I am kind of right now. And you don't really know how well you might be able to do something, or how well you'll be able to adapt to a situation that's uncomfortable until you put yourself in that situation. So try to kind of go outside your comfort zone if you think public speaking is something that is tough for you, or something else, whatever that may be. Kind of force yourself to be in that situation where you have to do it, and you'll learn a lot about yourself, learn about your abilities and your potential and different things that otherwise, if you're in a comfortable place, you won't be exposed to, that you won't know those things about yourself. So those are my two tips.
That's absolutely very good points there. And again, reiterate and underscore, thank you all for being here. This is a great step towards that. Shrina, let's close out with advice from Shrina.
No, I mean, I completely agree with everything that was said. I mean, I think the, volunteering in high school, like, I think, I feel like that wasn't really emphasized, like, or maybe it was and I just wasn't listening, but I think like just getting involved with your local organizations. Again, I had, the passion for environmental protection. I wish I would have just gotten more out in the communities and really, it kind of helps you with the problem solving, or really seeing like what kind of focus there is. And I think it just builds on your passion, and just not to, quiet your other skills. Like I hesitated with the engineering because I feel like, I was always sort of this creative person. I'm like, oh God, engineers seem like these boring, practical, like math solvers. And they're not. Like, I mean, the engineers need like innovative, creative people. Like there's so many interesting challenges going on right now. And I mean, even, when you look in our company, like, because Ranjit's like excited by the poles and wires. I'm like, as an environmental person, I'm like, is there anything interesting environmentally like going on here? And, so that was my concern, but, to really keep an open mind, because I think, there's skill sets for all these different types of jobs. So, you could really love the sciences, but, I love writing. I love art. Like, I love, the creative things too. So it really, you can use it all, like, in most careers these days. So it's, just focus on just doing your best and doing what you like, I guess. So.
No, that's an excellent way to kind of close out this panel. So if any of you have questions for our panelists, please put them in the chat box, but we're going to transition actually to Thomasina and TJ. And throughout this conversation, I saw Thomasina on the screen, and she's smiling because I'm sure she has a lot of answers or points that she's going to touch upon. So we did talk about, the different jobs that we have, and these are only 3 different jobs out of this huge company that we work at. I myself am not an engineer, hated math, but here I am. I work in the in energy industry. So with that, I want to introduce to you our next 2 folks who are going to do a wireside chat, is what I like to call it. And TJ and Thomasina are both from our talent acquisition team. And they are just fantastic people, great energy, fun to work with, one of also my favorite people to work with. And just Thomasina actually is our recruiter, and she works with the recruiting team with our university team, with schools, interns, and all that stuff, and I'll let her share that. And TJ actually works with our workforce development team. So he actually works with a great scope of folks from high school to college to post-college to adults changing careers, and really the gamut of it, whether it's the new workforce of tomorrow. And you'll see in their conversation that, with the pandemic happening, with the changing of our landscape and environment, there's definitely different ways to enter the workforce, whether it's going to the traditional route or new, fun, innovative ways, which they'll talk about right out of high school. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to TJ, who's going to moderate.
Thank you, Alisha, and good afternoon, and thank you for everyone for joining us here today. Again, my name is TJ Thornton. I am the Workforce Development Manager for Delmarva Power in Delaware and also Atlantic City Electric in South New Jersey. And I'd like to introduce you to Ms. Thomasina Ware. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Thomasina?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Thomasina Ware. I am the senior recruiter here at PHI, and I work with the universities and programs team. So I support the interns throughout PHI and throughout mostly summer parts of Exelon also. Been with the organization for 15 years, coming up on 15 years in April, and worked in a variety of positions, always been in HR, but different positions within HR throughout those 15 years.
Okay, awesome, thank you. And I got to do a little introduction about myself. So again, everyone, it's TJ Thornton. I work in workforce development. Been with the company for coming up on 12 years now. And I have not only been in one department, I've been in several. So it took me a while to actually find exactly what I wanted to do, but those 12 years around the company have been great. I started off as a meter reader, and then I spent 11 years as a field tech in our gas department. So I was one of the people that would respond to gas emergencies, or I would be one of the people that would come to your house when people just bought a brand new house and they needed a new gas line in their house for their appliances. I was the guy who would knock on your door first thing in the morning and say, "Hey guys, I'm here to put your gas line in." So that was my life. So throughout that, for on a personal note, for me, mentoring has been something that's been huge in my life. So it's always been a passion of mine. So throughout my time, I continued it. I was able to marry my personal mentoring with work. So once it's opportunity in workforce development, the opportunity to get out and create opportunities for different people who didn't quite know how to get into the utility industry, how to support our environmental efforts that we have going on here. I was able to create those programs and market those programs to reach everyone to get that opportunity. We talk about some of the things that we do here in workforce development and how that's starting to merge and marry with our energy efficiency protocols that we're placing. One of the biggest things that I do is that, again, I create programs at the middle school, at the high school, and also at the college level that first of all bring awareness about the different career paths that we have here in the utility company. As you see, they vary. We have engineers, we have energy efficiency specialists. We have the guys that you'll see that Alisha talked about earlier, that you'll see out on the telephone poles or in manholes pulling wire through the ground. We have a bunch of different career paths here. So my joy and my pleasure is to go out and to talk about that, to bring education, bring awareness, and also tell people how it is that you actually get into these programs. And also one of the great things that I do, I get to work with people like Thomasina, that once I get in the high school level and I see that people, I like that. I like the idea of going down work on lines, but I also, want to use my brain. I want to be the person that designs it, not necessarily does it. And I say, okay, let me introduce you to my friend Thomasina. And she goes about the ways of engaging you guys in finding scholarships and internship opportunities, just so that, we're really growing our local talent base, that, we're going to be the company that we're going to recruit the next Greta Thornburg, the next brilliant mind who's thinking about different ways to go green. But we're also going to, we're going to recruit the next Sam Perkins. And I know you guys don't know who Sam Perkins is, but Sam Perkins is an individual, and I'm using an alias. I'm not using that individual's real name because I didn't ask his permission. But Sam Perkins is the individual that used his brain and thought of a new innovative way to redefine our trucks that we use, so that we're not using so many diesel trucks, that we're starting to use hybrid vehicles that are a lot more environmentally conscious. Or Mr. Peter Parker. I know Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but you have to excuse me. That's the first name that popped in my mind. That decided that Peter Parker was the guy that created the new our new smart electric meters, so that we have electric meters that can read themselves and transmit the information back to the office for billing and for emergencies, for turn on and turn offs, instead of having meter readers that actually physically drive to house, and we're eliminating our carbon footprint. So that is really what it is that we do over here in workforce development. Thomasina, would you like to talk a little? I know I touched a little bit what you guys do in the talent acquisition department. Would you like to go ahead and kick that?
Sure. Thank you. So thank you for everybody for letting me be here. And TJ hit on a lot of things that we do. And me and TJ's department work closely together because, again, our ultimate goal is to hire good talent. Our ultimate goal is to bring in the best talent for the organization. And we do that through various ways. We have students that we meet with on both career tracks. We have students that we meet with that say, Miss Thomasina, I want to go to college and this is what I want to do. And I'm like, great. Let's get you going. Let's figure out what we want to do. Let's get you on that career path. Then I have students that are like, no, I don't want to go to college. I just want to come out and I would like to just start working. And I have students that I'm like, oh, great. We have opportunities that we can set those students on. And both career tracks, you guys make great, excellent careers, and they both make great money. So just to let you know, you don't have to pick and choose at the time. They both make great money. They're both great careers, just depending on the track that you want to go in. I always tell everybody thinks just the industry, industry, oh, I couldn't find something in there. We have accountants. We have business majors, we have IT majors, we have real estate department. I have a whole fleet department for those mechanics that want to mechanics. If you want to work on actually fleet trucks and things of that nature. Exelon has its own aviation group, which we hire pilots, mechanics. So just not thinking, when you just think industry, you think, oh, engineers, oh, maybe linemen. The opportunities are so many opportunities that people don't even think, like, you guys have that department there. Well, what would your real estate department do? And I'm like, real estate does a lot, especially with, the land and everything of that nature. So just to think like, okay, this is one industry, but it's so many opportunities that we have in those industries. And then again, what my department does, and working with TJ's department, is try to help those students navigate that whatever path you decide to go, helping you figure out how to get into the job to find your passion for that.
Okay. Great. I did see that we had a question come across the chat. Is how can the school request an Atlantic City Electric rep to visit their school? To give a really, really direct answer, what I will say is that I will put my information in the chat, because that is my area, my email address, and feel free to shoot me an email and we can definitely set that up. We can set up a series where we have just one person come, or we have someone like Ranjit or Aaron come, or we can set it up. We have different people from different areas of the business come in and talk to your school individually as to what it is that we do here. So that's something that I would love to do. So I will put my information in the chat when I get a moment, and please feel free to reach out to me directly. Sorry, I'm actually putting it in the chat right now. Sorry.
Okay. Well, while he's putting that in the chat, I'm going to talk about, I think my next question he's going to ask me is going to be about internships and how you get internship opportunities and things of that. It is never too early to start looking for internships, opportunities, even starting in high school. And my colleague says so many things. If I could tell my middle school, high school self, what would I change and do different? Again, that's what I think I would start looking at internships. I was in band, so I will tell you through middle school and high school, I was all about band life. I was like, I'm not volunteering. I have band. This is my life. This is what I love. This is what I'm passionate at. But more when I started to look back again, I said, oh, maybe I should have, met with my student counselor on opportunities that were happening throughout Delaware. Maybe I should have looked into this more and just not been about band, which I was. So again, internships. It's never too early to start internships, especially in high school. Internships gives you the opportunity to figure out what career path you would like to know. Going into college, I did not know. I thought I was going in the medical field, and then I took my first biology course. Next day, I'm in with my counselor, going over courses that did not require me to take any science. We ended up with business. And then she said, you might want to concentrate in human resource management. And that's how I ended up in there. So I think also maybe if I did internships earlier, I would have seen and helped me kind of guide to those opportunities for there, but never too early to start internships. A lot of times these days, a lot of organizations post their internship on social media. They post them on their websites. They use just, maybe word of mouth. So start setting up some platforms for you to look into those internship opportunities that you're interested in. And again, you can find those on social media. I know a lot of us use Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok. And another one, is LinkedIn. So it's never too early to start looking at those opportunities and setting up those internships. With the internships, making sure that you're reviewing the requirements, making sure that hey, you're meeting the GPA. I cannot stress to you enough how important the GPA is. Especially when you're in college and you're in high school, you might think like, oh, my GPA might not be important. But again, those are things that employers are looking at. So you want to make sure that you're maintaining a good GPA. You want to make sure, again, a lot of times you may not have work experience. So when you don't have those work experience, you don't have those work experience to put on your resume, you can list your volunteering experiences that you have. You can list, if you're playing sports, list those on there. If you're the captain of your team, list that information on there, because those things can show different qualities that you have. So if you're playing sports, you're already showing that you're part of a team and you have teamwork. If you're the captain, that's showing you have leadership skills. And these are some of the soft skills that employers are looking at on top of some of the requirements of having a good GPA, wanting to be a major in the department. So these are the things, again, that they're all taking a look at. So again, you might be like, oh, Ms. Ware, I don't have this work, and then I start talking to you and I'm finding out, hey, you're doing A and B, C, and we start building your resume and we start including those things on your resume for employers to take a look at. Did I answer the next question that you were going to ask me, TJ?
Yes. Now I would like to take a moment to answer that question for myself. So when I would look back, and I actually answered two questions with one stone, because I also had a question about career opportunities for directly out of high school. So for non-college seeking students. So what I would look back to tell myself is that, first of all, stop, take a deep breath and relax. It is okay. Because I was that person in high school. I knew I didn't want to go to college right then and there. That just wasn't where my mind was. But at the same time, I did not know what kind of career path I wanted. And honestly, I didn't see a line to be successful without college. It's all, the line of thinking is that you spend the time at college trying to figure out what it is that you want to do, how to be successful. But, where is that plan for people who don't go to college? You're never taught how to find a career that doesn't require college, that, a family sustaining, a very good job where you can take care of yourself and your family. So that kind of information was not something that I wasn't taught. So that causes a panic, if you're being quite honest. So again, I would reiterate, if that is you, if I'm speaking to you, like how TJ was in 1996, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. the one thing that I will say is that try to educate yourself on opportunities, whether it's in the trades fields, whether it's any kind of apprenticeship program. Spend that time trying to identify your high school years, trying to identify what it is that you like. Now, not exactly as to what job you want to do, but what are the things that you're interested in? Are you interested in working with your hands? Do you enjoy, being outside? Does that not bother you? Do you enjoy working outside in the air? Are you a person like I was, that what I looked for in a job at that age was that I wanted to be able to see the fruits of my labor. I wanted to start a job and be able to see what I did at the end of the day. So those are the kind of things that will kind of lean you towards the trades. Now, once you identify that that's something that you would want to do, again, research what kind of apprenticeship programs are in your area, what trade or utility companies are in your areas, not even the big ones, but some of the smaller contractor ones, because they are great careers at contract companies as well. And then after that, again, focusing on your grades, meet with your student counselors, your high school counselors, trying to figure out what resources that you have available that can point you in that direction. Make sure that you graduate high school, and once you do that, then start seeking out jobs. Now, what we have right now, especially in the South Jersey region, is that we have a strong effort going forth to really market the kind of careers that we have, to kind of recruit that young talent earlier. And so, if you guys are not seeing those opportunities, that means that I'm not doing my job well, and I want to do my job well. So hopefully you'll start to see them. And you guys are coming at it at a great time, to where energy efficiency is something that companies are taking extremely serious. So you're going to see boom in opportunities, whether it's working on meter installation, like I was talking about, replacing electric meters, whether you're talking about upgrading and making stronger our clean energy sources, such as windmills or water sources, different ways to generate energy. Those jobs, solar energy is a big one. So those jobs are going to be huge in the next couple of years. So the opportunity is now to start to do that research, and just again, take your time, relax. It's going to be okay.
Thanks, TJ. Thanks, Thomasina. Thomasina, do you have one more comment before we open it up?
We can open it up for questions.
Yeah. So does anyone have any questions for our panelists? You would just type that into the chat box. And while we do that, Thomasina, can you talk about, I remember in high school and middle school that I was in school a lot. I did not have a job. So when I wanted to get a job and they asked me to fill out a form or an application, a resume, I felt really stuck. So what advice would you give to someone who has never had like a full-time job or something to put together a resume?
Yes. And again, this is where your volunteer and your group, your efforts that you do after school will come into. So you would list on there, if you volunteer at your church, if you're volunteering for an organization. This is where, again, you can meet on there that any extracurricular activities. So at the time, when I started to look, one of my extracurricular activities was bands, but I was a section lead. So again, I would list this, AI DuPont, band, clarinet, section lead, and then some of the skills that I had under that. Again, working within the team. Again, leadership as being a section lead of leading my group that I had. Time management of managing my extracurricular activities also with my schoolwork. So even though I didn't have the work experience, I could start to build off of some of my volunteering experience and my extracurricular activities.
We did get a quick question. So what about any comments you have about potential opportunities for adults who may have lost their jobs during the COVID pandemic? Are there any opportunities with us there or with our partners?
Yes, so that is one thing that I will say. I mostly a lot of times is focused with our interns and internships, but even being in TA and even as TJ probably could piggyback off of me, even during this pandemic, Exelon has still continued to hire because, again, even though the pandemic happened, we're still looking for good talent and we're still maintaining our hiring practices. So there are opportunities, there are tons of opportunities on our website. I can put in the chat our website. If you have not had a chance to visit our website, please, because again, opportunities come up daily of different opportunities that are happening, not only in the ACE region, it could be in the Delmarva region, it could be in the Philadelphia region, but there are a ton of opportunities for individuals that are looking for job opportunities.
Thanks, Thomasina. And actually, I'm going to open this up to our whole panel, and one or two of you can answer this, but feel free to jump in. What is your favorite part about working at a utility? Or let's correct ourselves, at our utility?
I'll take it, no problem. Favorite part about working at our utility is the opportunities. There are opportunities to grow here like none other. Me myself, I'm the type of person where I can never feel like I've reached the top of my goal. I've topped out as what it is that I can do. Working here at this utility. Always opportunities to grow, always opportunities to pivot and change your careers. Like you said, many people you'll talk to in the utility company, they'll say, wait, I started here and then I moved here and now I'm here. And now my next goal is to move here. The fact that you have that opportunity, not only to switch careers, but also to switch locations. If for some reason, you don't enjoy living, or you would just like a change of scenery, like you live in New Jersey and you would like to move to Washington, D.C., you have that opportunity with this company because Exelon has a network across the country. We have a footprint in, I believe, all 50 states, to where there's always an opportunity to relocate and grow. So that's my favorite part.
Yeah, I guess
Okay,
I can jump.
oh, you can go.
Okay, I'll kind of share a little bit. One of my experiences is pretty much a highlight of my career. So some years ago, in a different role, I was fortunate enough to be part of a contingent that went down south to Florida after a major hurricane, Hurricane Irma. It was at the time where, there was hundreds of thousands of people out of power, and it was towards the end of the summer. It was 100-degree days for days, and we were driving from Delaware with our Del Marvin Atlantic City Electric trucks. And there had been people that had been out of power for the better part of a week, and as our crews were out fixing the poles and the lines, we had folks that had been out of power sitting in 100-degree weather for days, coming out and offering us water and offering us thanks, and just really profound gratitude, and just be able to make that sort of contribution to someone's day and someone's life. Really, sometimes it could be life threatening, depending on what kind of electrical equipment you might have at home. It's really rewarding. So the careers in our industry can be very rewarding. We have first responders to save lives. You have pole accidents with wire down and people in danger, and you have folks respond to that and save lives. So that they can be very rewarding careers in our industry.
Awesome, thank you. We do have a question. How can you figure out what career you want to do?
So I will hopefully I'm answering this question. To figure out the career you want to do is come into programs like this and doing career exploration programs. And what those will do, they'll set you up in various areas, so you can just rotate and see, hey, maybe this is what I like to do, or that is what I like to do. And then just trying to figure out from that path, like if you're good in math, then maybe you want to start looking at some of the career paths that you will use and utilize math. If you like the science, maybe you'll start looking at some of those careers for that. But just looking at different career paths, setting maybe some goals that saying, hey, this week I might look up 5 different careers and see if those careers might be for me. And then maybe next week set up another 5. So just looking at various careers and then reaching out to some, if a mentor, if your parent knows a friend that works in that industry, to ask those questions. A lot of times, as you can see, we all love sharing what we do. So if you do meet someone in the industry that you're interested in, reaching out and seeing how what they do, how they love it, and getting more information on it.
Great, thanks, Thomasina. That was a great question too, and I do want to reiterate some things that our panel did say, and I think TJ said it. It's, you can relax. I mean, I'm still figuring out what I want to be when I grow up. I started in corporate citizenship and corporate relations. Now I'm in regulatory, and that's one of the great things about working at Exelon too, is that they really foster you to explore different pieces of your career, different places that you want to learn about the company, and really jump around. So, definitely as you're thinking about your career, think about what kind of environment you want to work in, what kind of company you want to work for, and if they let you do what you really like to do. So, so we are at 1:59. I do want to give a special thank you to our panel for joining us this afternoon during their wonderful Friday, but also mostly all of you for joining us today as well. I hope this was a helpful conversation. You learn something new about working in the energy industry and working at Atlantic City Electric or any of the other utilities you've heard, which is within our umbrella with Atlantic City Electric. And also, I know this is not necessarily part of your climate contest, but I want to put a plug in there. Definitely submit something for the climate contest. We want to see, one of the things that we talked about is creativity, new ideas. And that's what the climate contest is. And that's what we really take into our jobs every day is how do we problem solve? How do we make solutions and really combat the challenges that are facing our community, especially the climate crisis. So with that, thank you so much for joining the summit. Thank you for our panel again. And I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you Monday for the closing plenary. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.